Hi, welcome to the Listen Up Grow podcast, your daily LGBTQ plus news podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman, and today is Thursday, July the 2nd, 300 episodes. We have made it to 300 episodes. When I started the show, I didn't know if we would make it to 30, but here we are, 300 episodes of showing up, speaking up, and refusing to look away. And today, the news is making it very clear that this show is more necessary than ever. Today, the debate raging inside the LGBTQ plus legal community after the Supreme Court's trans athlete ruling. Kansas is literally revoking people's driver's license for being transgender. The Orange Convicted Felons Administration is now suing the world's leading trans health organization. A gay couple from Iran is facing deportation to a country that could execute them. House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries shows up for what he says needs to be said. And Keke Palmer just came out. 300 episodes in, and let's get into it. First one, after the ruling, LGBTQ advocates are asking hard questions. So the Supreme Court handed down its ruling on trans athletes in the women's sports on Tuesday. And the reverberations are not slowing down. But today, the conversation has shifted from ruling itself to something more uncomfortable. A debate inside the LGBTQ plus legal community about whether the strategy of bringing these cases to the Supreme Court in the first place was a mistake. A Washington Post analysis published this morning lays it out directly. Legal advocates are wrestling with the reality that a series of cases brought to this court on trans youth health care, on parental notification, and now on athletes have produced precedents that could constrain the movements for years to come. Some attorneys are now saying out loud that not every case should go to the Supreme Court, that sometimes keeping a favorable lower court ruling in place is better than gambling on a 6-3 conservative supermajority. It is a painful conversation and necessary one, because the legal landscape right now is brutal. The court ruled unanimously that the state bans on trans athletes do not violate Title IX. The three liberal justices split from the majority on the equal protection question, with Justice Sotomayor writing in a dissent that a law bars every single transgender girl, regardless of age, hormones, or any individual circumstance. It is not about fairness. It is about exclusion. Glad Law said it plainly. The ruling gets it wrong, and they are right. But the community is also doing the harder work of figuring out what comes next. And one thing is clear. The ruling does not require states to ban trans athletes. Many states have inclusive policies in place, and those remain legal. The fight continues at a state level, and it continues in the streets. Very sad. I still just, my own personal view, I just do not understand why they are going after transgender people. Why? Leave transgender people alone. They're just living their lives, and you just... Next, Kansas revoking trans people's driver's licenses. I hate telling these stories. I hate it. But it's the news. When the court was making news, Kansas was making crisis for 1,700 of its own residents. Senate Bill 244 went into effect in Kansas this year, and what it did was breathtaking in its cruelty. Overnight, with no grace period and no warning, it invalidated the driver's license of every transgender Kansan who had updated their gender marker. Letters went out, and just like that, people who had done everything right, legally updated their IDs, were suddenly told your license is invalid, effective immediately. Think about what that means for a second. You cannot drive to work. You cannot drive to prove your identity at the bank. You cannot vote. You are effectively being forced to walk around with a document that puts out you as a transgender to every police officer, every employer, every person who asks to see your ID against your will. One woman, Chris Ripper, was pulled over in the rain in May. Her headlights were off after a brief sunny patch. The officer saw her license and spent 10 minutes questioning whether it was real. She was threatened with criminal charges, and this week, those charges were dropped. A small win, but that never should have been necessary and never should have happened. The ACLU has filed suit, and that lawsuit charges that SB 244 violates the Kansas Constitution guarantees of personal autonomy, privacy, equity, and due process. The ACLU's Harper Seldon called the law exactly what it is, a transparent attempt to deny transgender people autonomy over their own identities and push them out of public life. About 1,700 Kansans are living this right now, not as a political talking point, but as their actual lives. And it is disgusting that Kansas is doing this. Next, the Trump administration is now suing WPATH. If you needed more evidence that the Orange Convicted Felons Administration will not stop, here it is. The Department of Justice has filed a lawsuit against WPATH, the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, the organization that sets global standards for gender-affirming medical care. The suit accuses WPATH of misleading families, doctors, and insurers about care for transgender minors. So let me be very direct about what this is. WPATH standards of care are developed by medical and mental health professionals and are supported by every major medical association in the United States, including the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Psychological Association. Those are not fringe positions, though they are medical consensus. The lawsuit is not about protecting families, it's about intimidating the entire healthcare infrastructure around gender-affirming care. If you can sue the organization that writes the clinical guidance, you can make every doctor in the country afraid to follow it. A coalition of Republican-led states has joined the administration in the suit, and LGBTQ legal organizers are already preparing a response. This is what escalation looks like. It is no longer just blocking access to care, it is now actively going after the medical community itself. Our next story is 2 gay Iranian men could be sent to their deaths. This story needs to be heard. 2 gay Iranian men, partners in their late 30s and early 40s, fled Iran after they were arrested by that country's morality police for what the authorities called homosexual conduct, a change that in Iran can mean imprisonment, torture, or death. They came to the United States seeking asylum. They have been sitting in the immigration detention center ever since, without legal representation, watching their claims get denied. Now the Orange Convicted Felons Administration is attempting to deport them back to Iran. The same Iran and that same administration is currently threatening militarily. The same Iran that President himself invokes to claim he is protecting LGBTQ plus people from. So let that hypocrisy sit with you. One of the men received a last-minute stay of removal from the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, temporarily blocking his deportation. His partner did not. As of this episode, he remains at risk. The attorney, Beckhoff Wolf of the American Immigration Council, put it plainly. These men had no legal when their asylum cases were denied. The judges got the law wrong. They are not isolated cases. The administration has been systematically using transfer agreements to route LGBTQ plus asylum seekers to third countries, including Uganda, where homosexuality is also criminalized, to sidestep the U.S. legal protections entirely. These are not abstractions. These are 2 men who love each other, who fled persecution, and who are sitting in a detention center in southern Arizona while the government decides whether to send them somewhere that would kill them. We say their names matter even when we don't know them publicly, and we have to keep saying it. Next, Hakeem Jeffries shows up and he says the thing. Now, some reinforcements. House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke Tuesday night at the Equality PAC National Pride Gala in Washington, D.C., and he made a promise in front of some of the most prominent LGBTQ plus leaders and allies in the country that Democrats will stand with trans and queer people. This came the same night the Supreme Court had handed down its trans athlete ruling. The ruling was not lost on anyone in that room. What matters here is setting and the commitment. This was not a generic Twitter statement. This was a room full of people who have been fighting for years, many of whom are exhausted, and the House Democrat leader showed up in person and said, "We are not abandoning you." Now words need to be matched with actions. Democrats need to make LGBTQ protections a legislative priority when they have the opportunity not just a talking point when it is convenient, but on a night when there was news was heavy, showing up mattered, and we are watching. We always are. And next, Keke Palmer just came out. And because episode 300 serves a moment of joy, let's talk about Keke Palmer. The actress, the singer, and the television host posted to Instagram earlier this year in a way that the asexual community widely received as a lighthearted but genuinely meaningful coming out moment. Keke Palmer, one of the most multifaceted and beloved entertainers of her generation, describing herself as sexually fluid and connecting with the asexual community experience. She did not make a formal declaration. She did not hold a press conference. She posted something real in her own way, in her own time, and the community saw her. Aspec visibility, meaning asexual and aromantic identities is genuinely underrepresented in the LGBTQ plus media coverage. And when someone with Keke Palmer's platform connects with that experience publicly, it matters because there are people watching who have spent their whole life being told something is wrong with them for not feeling the way the world thinks that they should feel. And now they get to see Keke Palmer actually saying, I see you. Welcome, Keke. We're glad that you are here. So that is episode 300 of the Listen Up Girl podcast, 300 days of showing up, speaking out, and refusing to let this community's stories get buried under everything else. To everyone who has listened, shared, subscribed, and told a friend, thank you so much. This show exists because you are coming back, and I keep coming back because of you. If you have not subscribed yet, please do right now, wherever you are listening. Leave a review, share this episode, and help someone else find the show. Every single action you take helps us reach the people who need to hear this. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman, episode 300 down, and we're just getting started. Take care of each other, and I'll be back tomorrow with more LGBTQ plus news. Thanks for listening.